Hey everyone, how you doing? It's Steven, Ontario Telescope. Welcome to Ontario Telescope TV. It is Saturday morning. It is sunny outside. It is cold again. I don't know what's going on, but this is, I guess, our second winter. Kind of like Lord of the Rings, the Hobbits having their second breakfast. I don't know. It was nice and sunny earlier this week. We got up to 17 degrees. All the snow that we had gotten in that storm had basically melted away. It was gone. It was great. And then we got hit yesterday. Along with a lot of Southern Ontario as well in the Greater Toronto area. So I don't know, do you have snow where you are? Did you get hit with another bout of winter? It's that time of year, right? Where it fluctuates a lot. People start to get their colds again and so on. But hey, it's sunny outside. So we'll take it as it comes. So it's a interesting time of year. We're halfway through March. We are. Good morning, Randy. Good morning, Rob. We are on St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Everybody's Irish today. I was looking for something green to wear. I have nothing. Actually, I have a shirt, but it doesn't fit. Right, the muscles, just start to rip the seams and. Yeah, it just doesn't work. So if you have something green, wear it today. It's my mother-in-law's birthday today. It's Albert Einstein's birthday today, I believe. And last night I was out with friends and my wife and their wives were all out for dinner. Had some fantastic pizza at our friend Rob, who is currently watching right now. So I wanted to give Rob a shout out because he makes fantastic pizza. So anyway, so let's get to astronomy. I wanted to talk today about rotators. I mentioned that last week. That next week we'll talk about rotators, and this week here we are. So we're going to talk about rotators. When you want to use one, why you would want to use one, things you can do with it, little things that will drive you absolutely crazy if you. That's exactly right. I need a double XL in the sleeves. Things that will drive you absolutely crazy if. You don't set things up properly in terms of installation or in settings. And this drove me crazy for a while till I realized what I was doing wrong. And so I'm going to take my wasted photon capturing time where I got nothing and share it with you to help prevent that from happening because we get so few clear nights as it is right now. Hopefully the summer will be better since we are going through this type of winter that we have. We won't have the forest fires, but we get, let's make every photon count, every minute of darkness count. The days are getting longer. Yes. So the nights will be getting shorter over the next little while, but there's still lots of great imaging time there, and we want to make sure we use it to its maximum potential. Okay, so I have two, actually, let me grab another one. I got three. No, I only have two. Okay, so I have them here with me. I have two rotators to show you. I have the one from ZWO and I have the one from Pegasus Astro. This one was the one that kind of really started things off for amateur astrophotographers that brought it down into a more reasonable price point. There are other ones on the market. I have Moonlight Nightcrawler, for example, fantastic focuser, super ultra precise, and it has a rotator built into it. But that's a really expensive focuser. If you're going to be spending like $3,000 on that type of equipment, not everyone's going to be doing that. I'm still kind of surprised that I did myself as well. But that was an option that was available. It still is. If you have a high-end scope, if you want like ultra precise, that's a great option. There was other manufacturers that had rotators as well. They've been around for a long time. This isn't anything necessarily new. Optech, I don't like to recommend anything really from Optech, but they had a rotator. The only problem with their Optech rotators is that they were really thick. So it didn't really work well when it came to back focus requirements. If you had a plane wave, or if you had a big SCT, something with a lot of back focus on it, that's where it's really good. On a refractor, lousy. It's not going to work out unless you had a very special reducer. Again, that's probably not going to be a cheap reducer. So, you know, there's options there. Prima Luce has a rotator. For their focus line, they have their Sesto Senso, right? And they have their Asato focusers, and then they also have their Arco, which is a rotator. Now, the Arco will only work with their equipment. So if you had a Prima Luce focuser and you attached it to your scope, it'll have an Arco port on it so that you can attach the Arco rotator, and then it will allow you to control it as well through ASCOM or any other software type means, or their Play software. Then Pegasus came out with, there's other things in between, I'm kind of jumping, but Pegasus had come out with their Falcon Rotator. Now, I saw the prototype of the Falcon Rotator back in, I want to say 2018, 2019, around then, 2019. I believe. When did I go to AIC for the first time? 2019. Yeah. They had it then. They had come in. They had displayed it. It was actually made out of wood. But it was their prototype, and it garnered a lot of attention. And this is at AIC, the Advanced Imaging Conference. And I won't say the majority, but a lot of these people have more high-end equipment, and that really drew a lot of attention because now we had a rotator that functioned extremely well, right? And it wasn't over $1,000, right? So the Falcon Rotator came in, and fantastic job. And I've got a couple of them. They work really well. They upgraded that to the Falcon 2, which I have here. And then other ones have come out on the market, including the CAA from ZWO. And this is the one I'm going to open up to show you. This one, the box is sealed. But some things to keep in mind, the Falcon Rotator 2.0, the Falcon Rotator 2, it's got a larger opening on it at M68. And we have the adapters to step everything down. This is more if you have a larger refractor, so like a 150, 140, something like that, that will have a much larger opening on it. Then this is the one you're probably going to want to look at. If you have a smaller scope, if you're budget limited, then, you know, this is just over $400. You can go with the ZWO CAA. Now, when this came out a year ago, it was like fire. Everybody had to have one. I don't blame them. Great piece of equipment, especially if you're using the ASI Air, right? So now you can start framing in. Let's open it up and take a look at what it's got. All right. So here's the rotator, right? And they all pretty much are going to have the same look and feel to them, right? They'll have their opening, right, and threaded on both sides. Now, you can see here, they mark this, right? Which direction is the scope and which direction is the camera. It doesn't always work out, but it's something to keep in mind. What they've done with theirs is they've made theirs an M54, right? Oh yeah, I can see why, but there's some thinking you're gonna have to do to make sure that you get that set right, depending on the scope you have. And then it's an M54 on this side as well. Now they do come with an adapter to drop it down to M48. You can also buy an M42 adapter, depending on your setup. We have those. Now this one is pretty cool with the ZWO setup because it is only 16.5 millimeters thick. Why is that important? Because with the ZWO system, right, they give you the spacers. I got a couple of them here. Yeah, they give you the spacers. So there's a 21 millimeter, right? And that would be one that will come with your camera. And then they'll have a 16.5 millimeter. And then when you combine all this together, right, you get that 55 millimeter back focus. The filter wheel, for example, the filter drawer would replace the 21 millimeter, so it maintains that back focus. And then you had an OAG, you'd replace that with the 16 millimeter. Now, right, you take the 16.5 millimeter out and you put the rotator in, and actually it would be like this. and you can maintain that back focus. So that's really, really important. That's why they made it the thickness they did, and it's probably one of the reasons why they had delayed it for as long as they had, because my understanding of this was the third revision that they had made. The first one was really thick. The second one, I even questioned it too when I saw it at NEAF, because it only had an M42 opening, so it wouldn't work with a lot of their cameras. And they redesigned it, and now it's got this larger opening on it. So where would you want to use this as is? My answer would be if you have a ZWO camera, because you have enough of an opening here that it will illuminate both sensors. So this is probably why. If you have like the full frame one, I don't know how well this would work. It should. I'd have to look. It should. Yeah. Okay. All right, so a couple of things with the rotator. The way that you install it is going to make a difference on the actual operation of the system. ZWO did mark on here which side is the scope and which side is the camera, which is good, because there are some instances you might do it backwards, and I'll tell you what you need to do for that. So you have to make sure that this side is going to the scope. Why? Well, if you have a filter wheel over here, you're going to have this protrusion that's going to be as it rotates around, it will hit. Obviously, in this situation, we're going to have our flattener over here, right, or your reducer. So the only thing that's going to be rotating is going to be your image train, that being your camera and your filter wheel or your filter drawer. Anything that you have on the back end over here. So that's really, really important to keep in mind. Now, there are some instances, if you had an SCT, for example, right, that you are going to be having to flip this around, right? You're going to have to maybe change this plate or get some kind of an adapter here to attach it. And why would you want to do that? Because this protrusion is going to be hitting into the scope. Depending on the configuration, there's ways to get around it. You might be using a reducer, you not have to worry about it. But there are times you've had to do it. There's times that I've had to do that as well, right? With my Pegasus, the original Pegasus Falcon Rotator, where the motor was going to be protruding this way and it was going to be hitting, and I had to flip it around. Now, what did that do, right? What that did for me is that the whole rotator was going to be turning along with everything, which to me was fine. I didn't mind, right? But now it's actually operating in the opposite direction. So you need to go into the software for the rotator, right? And tell it to work in the reverse direction. Why? Okay, so let's think about this for a moment. If we are imaging and we set up for our night and we set up our plan, regardless of the software you're using, you can be using Nina, SGP, Voyager, ASI Air, Stellarmate, it doesn't matter, right? It's going to go slew to your target, take an image, plate solve it, determine the angle, and it's going to say, okay, the angle is off by 15 degrees, rotate. Well, now if your rotator is in backwards, it's going to start rotating in the opposite direction versus the direction that it thinks it's going to go. Now, all of a sudden, instead of being, say, 15 degrees out, right, you're 345 degrees out, and it's going to say, oh, that's no good. And it's going to, when it plate solves again, and it's going to now correct for another angle. And it's going to start doing this, and it's going to be going back and forth. In hunting, and this drove me absolutely crazy when it happened to me, and I was convinced that there was a problem with the rotator, that there was driver problems, and the problem was me. There's jokes there, I know. So as soon as I hit that reverse, right, and I understood what I was doing wrong, right, it solved everything. And it was only because with the setup that I had done, I had this in the opposite way. So if you're going to be doing that, right, you need to be aware that you need to turn that setting on. And that would typically be an ASCOM setting right in the driver itself to tell it to go in reverse rotation. Now, where else would you use that reverse rotation checkbox option if you're using an electronic focuser? I know we're sidestepping for a second. If you're using an electronic focuser and you installed it on the other side of the focuser that it's not expecting to be on, all right, then you need to put it into the reverse so that in is in and out is out, or else you're going to have a problem. There are other ways to fix that hardware-wise. You can take the bottom of your focuser out, if possible, rotate it around and put it back in, depending on the focuser you have. Something to consider. So anyways, that's going back to the rotator. That's something you need to be aware of, that if you are going to be installing this backwards, right, then you need to be setting it up in the software that it is backwards so that it rotates in the right direction. We have these in stock. Oh, I'm holding one. And we have adapters in stock as well. I have a series of adapters that are M54 to drop down to different sizes. They're available from Starfield. They're available from Pegasus. So we have options there for you. Now, the ZWO one, there's an optional plate that you can order to get this replaced to an M42. So if you have, if you can't use the M48 for whatever reason, you need to drop it down to M42, we can do that for you with the additional plate. So just give it some thought as to what your setup is, so that we can get you the correct setting. Where would you need to use that? Some of the filter wheels, for example, right, are only M42, right? Like the 5-position or the 7x36, they're only M42 openings, so you would need to step this down to M42 in order for that to work, so you can maintain your back focus. Okay, now, if you've noticed behind me, I have this gorgeous, this is actually a really nice scope, LX90, Meade LX90 8-inch. This was brought in by somebody. It's on consignment. It's actually not bad. It's a full setup, so you get the scope, you get the tripod, some eyepieces, some other things, and it works. Tested it out. We need to clean the corrector, but this is dirt cheap. You know, they're only asking $1,500. We can make a deal if you're interested. We have all the shipping boxes, so we can ship it and so on. But anyways, let me show you something. Let's get back to rotators. Let me put this aside for a second. I'm going to show you something on an SCT to do with rotators. So if you have an SCT and you don't have a wedge and you want to image with it, but you don't want the field curvature issues, right? With, you know, because when we're imaging with a EQ mount, you know, we set our framing and we're following that all around, right? You can't do that with an alt-az. You have your framing and it's going to just be stepping and your object will be rotating within that field of view. So let's undo this clutch. Let's spin this around, right? What we can do with the rotator, and if you see on really big research grade type systems, right, that are on an alt-az type mount, right, this is exactly what they do. So now you can do it as well. You can take your rotator, right, and we can put it back here, right? You can see in this situation on the 8-inch, it allows me to do it in the right way so that the scope pointing is pointing toward the scope, so we don't have to worry about reverse or anything like that, right? And now I can set my camera up and everything here. I still have to watch out for my back focus as well, or you know, we can bring it further out. So if you had the camera attachment that's here, that gives you your 55 millimeters back, right? We can still do that. There's many ways that we can take care of this, but we have this set up, right? And we're tracking our object in alt-az, and this is rotating your camera as it's imaging live, right? That is a very effective way, right, and a very repeatable way of getting a really good image. I mean, with an alt-az scope, right, you can use a rotator, so you don't have to worry about putting it on a wedge. You don't have to worry about polar alignment issues, because they're not the easiest to polar align sometimes with a wedge. You can keep it in alt-az. You can do your normal alignment as you typically would, plate solve, whatever your preference, and then have the rotator on the back, and it will rotate the image. If you look at like some of the, I'll give you an example. I remember being at AIC and I saw this setup there too, and I was aware of it before anyways, but it's nice to see it in your eyes. The Paramount Taurus mount from Software Bisque, big, huge, like Y-shape mount, and it had a 1 meter plane wave on it. Absolutely gorgeous. Everybody should have one. Yeah. But it's alt as, right? So you're using this high, super high, ultra high-end optic, the plane wave, and it's on an alt as setup. Well, you're not looking through it. There's no eyepiece, right? Not on a plane wave. You put a camera, right? But they do that. They image with it because they had the rotator on the back, right? So it would rotate the camera as it's doing its imaging, and that's what we. That's why we would put a rotator on one of these. So the software will have has an alt as mode. You put some information in there, and it will automatically take care of that for you. I've seen it in the Pegasus software. I'm pretty sure that the ZWO software has it also. It's not a proprietary feature by any means, so everybody should be able to do that. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can put this on the back of an SCT or a similar type of long focal length scope, or any scope really that's in alt as, and frame in your object. Right. The nice thing with the rotator also, when I say frame in your object, if you're doing a project and it's LRGB or a narrowband and you're doing multiple nights, or you're lucky enough to get multiple nights on in a row on one target with no moon, that's like the perfect time. And you want to do one filter per night, for example. Well, what we can do now with the rotator as well is you start taking your image night one, and then in our software, when we want to go back, we can have the software look at the framing of your image, determine the angle, and set the angle of the rotator to go back. So there's ways to do that. It's a little bit more of an advanced setting within the software, but there are ways to do that and things you can do. So yeah, rotator is a really nice piece of equipment in order to get you the next level. Okay, insider tip about this one in particular, the CAA. These screws, I don't like them, right? We've had issues with customers and these particular screws that the heads start to strip. We had to actually get an end mill and bore it out because it was in there really, really tight. I don't know why they make them so tight. What I would do is I would pull these out and I would replace them with the same type of Phillips screw. We have them. We can sell those to you. But I'm not a big fan of those. If you're never going to touch it, it's fine. But there is some torque that gets exerted on here, and it causes these to bind in a little bit. So that's the first thing I would do, is I'd probably replace those with a different type of screw that you can get more meat on it with a screwdriver instead of the little Allen key that they give you. It's not that great. So anyways, that's all I have for today. Thank you for spending your time with me. There are some, I was looking this up this morning. For anyone who knows me well, has known I've spent a lot of time in Ireland. A lot of time. I was there on St. Patrick's Day once. That was wild. Everybody's Irish today, right? I wish I remember the proverb, the saying. Anyways, there's lots of Irish blessings, right? You can go Google your favorite one and say it to yourself, and say it to somebody else, and enjoy the day. Hopefully it will warm up for you. We'll get rid of the snow. We'll get back to our clear nights. We'll start imaging again. If you wanted a rotator, you know how to get a hold of me. Happy Pi Day, and we will talk to you again next week. I'm here all day till 3:30, so if you want to talk today, give me a call. Or 3 o'clock, not 3:30. I'm here. Clear skies, everyone. Love you all. All the best.